In the course Anxiety Explained, I did a long video on glutamate, long video on GABA. What I want to do here is to explain the relationship between the two and what happens when something goes wrong on that ratio glutamate to GABA. So first of all, what's interesting is how one turns into the other. So glutamate turns into GABA, right? It just uses the action of an enzyme called GAD, glutamate acid decarboxylase. It's just an enzyme that turns glutamate into GABA. What's interesting about that is that action will not happen until the levels of glutamate are high enough. So you do not create GABA unless you create glutamate first, which means glutamate gets to a certain level in the body, and after that, gamma is produced based on the surplus of glutamate on a 1-to-1 ratio. To get 1 molecule of GABA, you need 1 extra molecule of glutamate. That's just the way it is. So that means that if you do not produce glutamate in surplus, you do not produce GABA. That's going to be very important, right? Because of the ratio between the two. So the ratio is a very important thing I'm going to explain, but it's a very fluid thing, which means if you don't have enough glutamate, you don't get the ratio. If you have too much glutamate that is not turned into GABA, you have a problem. So it's all about that conversion. That's really what matters. But for example, what happens if I do not have enough GABA? What is GABA? What is it for? So if we look really in a simple way of looking at it, is glutamate is the accelerator on the body. It's neuroexcitatory, and GABA is the brakes on the car, right? So if you look at driving, it's a game of acceleration versus brakes, right? And that's what that ratio is going to be like. If you cannot have too much brakes, but your brake cannot, for example, not be functioning. What happens if your brake don't function well? Well, that's easy. You're going to crash the car. That's a little bit what we see with human body, with the human system, human beings. For example, let's look at speech. Accelerator means producing the sounds. So it's going to be speech a bit like music. Music is producing sounds, but it's also having the silences in between the sounds to make the music good. Same thing with language. I cannot just string words together without breaks, otherwise it'd be incomprehensible, right? That's why when the faster people talk, the more you have to pay attention because the harder it is to understand, right? So producing sound is the glutamate. The silences in between the sounds, that's where the GABA comes in. The GABA is what allows you to create language. Not because of the sound part, but because of the silences part. So you can see how that ratio is very, very important. If the glutamate is too high versus the GABA being produced, right? If the ratio is off, you will have, as far as symptoms of that, right? You will see, for example, that the brain has to produce a lot of endorphins in order to protect the brain from the damage of having too much of the neuroexcitatory, the neurotransmitter, neuroexcitatory, right? So at first, it can be good, right? Oh, endorphins, I feel good. So that's why when you're very excited, very much on, it feels so good because actually you're feeling good from the protective nature of the endorphins you're pumping against too much glutamate. So you could see how it could be a dangerous game over time. Because if you keep doing this, eventually you won't be able to pump enough endorphins to protect your brain from too much glutamate. So you could see how an addiction to being on could eventually damage your brain. That's going to come toward addiction on top of it and things like that. But you could see how that high baseline, how addictive it would be. But that could turn into a very dangerous thing because of that. Like you could, just by being on, keep producing endorphins to a certain level, right? To protect your brain, that feels awesome. So, I love to be on. Yeah, but if you're on for too long and you don't apply the brakes, then you're going to damage your brain. So you could see how that system works. But also, if you're on all the time and you keep pumping endorphins, this is where that spaciness will come from. You know, like sometimes you get coffee and all you have is you kind of stare into the void, or when you're being on for too long or stuff like that. That's actually what this is. It's a very specific type of endorphin that you're pumping that create the spaciness to slow you down a bit and also to protect your brain from the damage. So that spaciness is actually a result of too much excitation. Sounds like freeze, doesn't it? Right, so that's where we're going to go. We're going to see that that ratio explains a lot of things. So the GABA on the other side is responsible for the silences when I speak so that I can explain myself properly, right? That's that up and down, that's the glutamate versus GABA. But for example, we see GABA, that one I found very interesting, is responsible for the contraction of the bowels. So that means that if you don't produce enough GABA, you're going to be constipated on one thing. But then I would go a little bit further. What about that four-pack tightness that we talk about with anxiety and then the external obliques opener we talk about with Richard all the time? That would be low levels of GABA. That would relate to this. So are we going toward emotional mapping there? I think so, because if you have low levels of GABA, so the high levels of glutamate, it starts to trigger acetylcholine. So you're going to say acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter of the parasympathetic nervous system. Obviously, you know that, right? Because I talk about osteocalcin all the time. But that acetylcholine is the main neurotransmitter of the parasympathetic system, but it's also on the sympathetic side. So acetylcholine can be a neuroexcitatory as well. It's a neurotransmitter, but it can be inhibitory or excitatory. If the glutamate levels are high, GABA are low, you get a neuroexcitatory effect of the acetylcholine, and as it leaves the CNS, the brain, then it goes more toward the sympathetic. Anyway, another podcast, obviously, right? But you could see how all things would go toward too much speed versus not enough braking, right? And so it's that ratio that interests us so much in between the two. What I want people to understand, it's very important on that one, by the way, is that because everybody's going to go towards supplements. Oh, so all I need to do is to absorb supplements, for example. And this is a faulty way of thinking. If you absorb GABA supplements, to the system, it's a little bit like you're driving the car super fast and suddenly God arrives and slams on the brake while you're driving. Right, that would not help you, right? Obviously, like you're going to start crashing. Well, it's a little bit the same. You're introducing GABA to a body that did not produce it. It does not like it. So it might work a tiny little bit, but pretty much what happens is the body takes GABA, turns it back into glutamine, and from glutamine turns it back to glutamate, and now you're back to square one worse because now you even have more capacity for that glutamate in your body. That's why the supplement won't work. What if, by the way, you take GABA, but it's not a brake day? What if it's an accelerator day? Then you're going to end up with somatic error that the body is going to have to deal with, and back to glutamate. So that is the key to all this, is it's not a supplement thing, glutamate versus GABA. It's a learning to drive thing. And that's really what I want you to understand, is all this is behavior-based. When we talk about enzyme, we talk about epigenetics. That GHD, like a glutamic acid decarboxylase, that enzyme, spells epigenetics all the way. You cannot just absorb that enzyme. It's a protein. You can absorb it. It wouldn't do anything either. It's a behavioral thing, right? It's an epigenetic thing. What we have to learn in order to have a correct glutamate to GABA ratio is to learn to drive. That's what we need to do. Do not think relying on supplements will take you there. It's not. You need to learn how to drive. And to just finish on this, what I find is very important is, again, that idea that if you do not have glutamate in excess, you will not produce GABA. So it's an arch. Like I talk all the time. You need the pressure of the glutamate to create a pressure in the GABA thing, which I find fascinating because we find the same principles no matter where we look. There's an arch there. You need to produce a high level of glutamate. And you know how you do that? Through the Krebs cycle. You know what the Krebs cycle precursor is? Pyruvate, where the precursor for pyruvate is the lactate. If you do not have high levels of lactate, you cannot trigger the Krebs cycle to the level that is necessary to produce a very specific, it's alpha kg anyway, a very specific precursor that will allow you to create enough glutamate to have the GABA that is so necessary. So through that, we're going back to lactate again. We're going back to the sympathetic. We're going back to training hard. So no matter how you look at it, how much deeper into the rabbit hole I go, I end up with the same principle, which I find fascinating. The arch, the lactate, the accelerator versus the brake, that's what it comes down to, right? And so, but the key to all this is what I think the most important part of all this is what you need to learn is to drive, right? You need, because a lot of time when people go about parasympathetic and learning to breathe and namaste the better way, what does that mean? Namaste the better way means don't drive fast, don't have a powerful accelerator. You need to reduce your capacity to accelerate. And that's the concept I want to talk about with the arch from the beginning, is like, no. Don't reduce your capacity to accelerate. If you reduce your capacity to accelerate, you reduce your capacity to brake. So all you've done is to lower the arch. You have not fixed the problem, because remember, if you don't have enough glutamate, you can't produce GABA in the first place. So if you reduce the accelerator, you're reducing your capacity to produce GABA. So therefore, you're reducing the brakes. So it won't solve anything, you'll just have less of an arch, which is not the point, right? So the point is you have to build the accelerator. You need to move faster. What you need to do is to also to build better brakes, right? And so once you have better accelerator, better brakes, what you need to learn is to drive, to learn to drive. And you're going to learn to drive faster, so you have to learn to brake better. And that's life. And that's the foundation of Strong Fit right there, is I want you to learn to drive faster. I want you to learn to brake better. I want you to learn to drive. Action is the key. Don't rely on supplements. Don't try to lower the arch. Make the arch stronger. That's the key to everything. But yes, it will require you to learn how to drive. And guess who's doing the work? You. No one else. I can help you. I can teach you to drive, but at the end, you're the one driving. Thanks, guys.